Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and as you'll see, we're diving right back into some Silver Surfer gameplay testing. This time we're going with the CTP of Rage that we had equipped on him for Galactus Giant Boss Raid, and we're going up against a stage 30 Thanos. And the stage we're choosing is actually going to be important in just a bit, but I do want to highlight that although Silver Surfer does not seem and doesn't seem to be isn't good for GBR at the moment. He is still very good for World Boss, whether you're using a CTP of Destruction or a CTP of Energy, or in this case a CTP of Rage. So it may be a bit unfortunate, but I do think that the CTP of Rage is very good for Silver Surfer, specifically for World Boss Ultimate. Now I say that because we've already concluded it's not very good for GBR, and I already posted a Twitter image noting that he is not very good at all for ABX. I tried him on the ABX day for Universal Hero, the one that Tier 3 Captain Marvel participates in, and he cracked about 2 million, which is almost half of what he's supposed to be cracking at 3.5. So he's not even close, and I don't know why, but yeah, I don't think level 70, I don't think Gear 25, I don't even think a CTP of Rage is going to make that difference. So what I'm kind of trying to say, what I am trying to say is, the CTP of Rage is only good if you only want to do World Boss with Silver Surfer, which I think is a pretty insane cost to pay for just one game mode with a character. So I personally think that the CTP of Rage is just a bad choice. It's a poor allocation of a CTP of Rage because, you know, even I don't have that many to just throw on every single character I want. I can take them off and put them back on. How did I not crit? I can take them off and put them back on, sure, but to keep them on all these characters is impossible for me. And so, you know, like giving Deadpool or Sharon Rogers a CTP of Rage, it just doesn't make sense. I'm even of the opinion that giving Luna Snow a CTP of Rage doesn't make sense because she can do pretty much everything already with the CTP of Energy, and I think Silver Surfer is kind of in the same bucket. We'll try to do a little bit of PvP as well so you guys can see that in addition to only being good for World Boss with a Rage, because it's not GBR, he struggles a lot more in PvP, and that is one of the biggest, if not the biggest weakness for the counterattack skills. So the skill that Silver Surfer has on 3, Bishop has on 3, Wolverine has on 3, Hyperion has on 1, and whatever, Gambit has on 1. Those skills, if you get guard broken, it doesn't activate because it forces you to make a basic attack, and a basic attack doesn't allow you to do any skills. So I'm going to stop it right there because I'm trying to sort of mirror, again, it's not super scientific, what I was able to do at level 60 with the CTP of Destruction. Now, I say that the CTP of Rage is good for him only for PvP. That is not to say that a CTP of Destruction is not good, and that's not saying that a CTP of Energy is not good, or even a regular Obelisk proc. I think even a regular proc, a guard break, crit damage proc, or a guard break dodge proc, or a guard break max HP damage proc, they could all be very, very good for Silver Surfer for both PvE and PvP. But I did want to put these side by side, although they aren't the most accurate. This is what I was able to do about 2 weeks ago before I had his potential unlocked, when I had a CTP of Destruction. So it's a different CTP. It's also level 70 versus level 60. It's also gear 20 versus 2 of my gears are at 22 and 1 is at 25, I believe. But his attack gear is only at 22. But I tried to compensate for that a little bit by bringing the same team, but then not staying at the same stage. I bumped it up to stage 30, so we're 5 stages higher. But as you can see, 133, we are still about 50 seconds to a minute faster. And I completely missed a proc where I couldn't crit. So it's possible that it's a minute faster. Now that minute is, you know, in part provided by the level 70 and provided by the extra gear upgrades, but part of that is also the CTP of Rage. So I'll just go over the build really quickly, and then we're going to show off a little bit of the PvP action to really cement the fact that CTP of Rage just doesn't work for him for, I would say, the majority of game modes. If World Boss Ultimate is the only game mode well, then that's just the case. I still haven't decided on what Uru to give him, so we're still here on the Uru. That's why I haven't taken full advantage of the CTP of Rage, but I have reworked his crit rate. I've lowered it. I've put a lot more into dodge. I believe his 4th gear is dodge, and that's why it went up to 25, so I could get the most out of it. Oh, actually, this one is 25. Oh, snap. Okay, so it's quite a bit on the gears, actually. But yeah, he's 58 or 59 and 68, and he gets the extra 40% crit from his 5th skill. So yeah, I mean, it's very, very easy to cap his crit, as we know how it works now. And then he's almost capped on ignore defense, but then of course his crit damage suffers tremendously, 140%. So that's why I think he might actually be better off, or you'll get similar production, I would imagine, out of something, perhaps not for just World Boss, but also for PvP, something even like Guard Break Immunity, crit damage, and a damage proc, because then you don't have to worry about crit rate, because he's still going to get 40% here, so you can basically cap your crit rate and get a lot closer to capping your dodge. If I had an extra like 30 or 35% on an obelisk, I would be closer to 170% crit damage. I could give him some crit damage Urus, and then you can have both of those maxed out, and you can still deal respectable damage, and that's what I was doing with a CTP of Destruction, which is basically just a guard break, you know, a guard break proc with crit damage if you're not counting the penetration for PvP. That's basically what it is, and I was able to do a stage 25, get him down to 7 bars with a minute and a half left with no strikers, so I'm sure he could do stage 30 with strikers, even possibly at level 60 with a regular obelisk. So you sort of have to extrapolate and sort of try to interpret things. Of course, it also matters what your raid level is. Mine is maxed. It matters your card stats. I've got 80%, you know, all attack and energy attack. I understand those things, but you can sort of interpolate or interpret from what I'm seeing versus CTP of Rage and a CTP of Destruction. So now we're going to jump into some PvP so you guys can see just how much worse it is compared to a CTP of Destruction, and it seems like it's a really small change, but it's actually huge. We're actually going to try to fight another Silver Surfer here, because this really illustrates the fact that if you don't have Guard Break Immunity, those 3rd skills, and he does, he has a CTP of regeneration. The 3rd skill is terrible without Guard Break Immunity, because you get interrupted all, like, you know, almost half the time or more than half the time, and it renders the counterattack absolutely useless. And the counterattack is a huge part of why, and I'm getting guard broken right here, the counterattack is a huge part of what makes Silver Surfer actually powerful. So we're getting a little bit off here, but we're going to get it, you know, totally busted up by this Jean Grey. We're going to try to get his 5th skill off, and then the 4th skill, but now we have no penetration. Our 3rd skill did land that time, but didn't do any damage because, again, no penetration. So you can see there that, again, the destruction actually really matters, not just for the guard break immunity, which is obviously super important, but also for that penetration. So that's how the CTP of Rage fares on the Silver Surfer. Not as great as some people may have expected, but in my mind is actually good, because it gives you more options and it creates a more diverse build for this character rather than just throwing Rage on every single new meta. Now, for a final bit of testing, for a final piece here, I do want to unequip the CTP of Rage to, of course, save it for another character, and I want to give Silver Surfer a CTP of Regeneration, and this one I think is my best rolled one, so we're going to give him this one right here, and rather than take this into PvP, where it would be best used on him, I want to instead go into PvE and see how he does with this. So we're going to go ahead and swap over the dodge to, I think if we can get crit damage, that would be great. But if we get, well, let's see what we get here. We do want either crit damage or recovery rate, whichever one comes first. Recovery rate would be the better PvP build. There we go. Okay, so we're not going to test it out with crit damage, but now we've got over 200% crit rate, or sorry, recovery rate. Now I want to see, going back to that stage, how much damage he's going to be able to put down without any strikers compared to having an obelisk, compared to having a CTP, rage, destruction, whatever, etc. Because this is the other interesting thing. While he may not be able to clear this stage, if he can do a decent amount of damage to where you could possibly squeak by with strikers, or if you could get it done on a lower stage, that's really great, because you can build, like, you know, it's kind of like the Deadpool situation where he's got enough all defense down on his skills and he's got enough damage on his skills to the point where he can do sort of a hybrid build while still maintaining a lot of value for PvP. If you really like Timeline Battle, if you really like Alliance Conquest, or you're in the Alliance Tournament, these things matter, and identifying these types of characters is, you know, really important, because they tend to be extremely strong when they can sort of flexibly be utilized in both game modes. So we're doing not so bad right now. We like getting that third skill buff as well, which Thanos likes to help us proc. We're going to, I don't know what we're going to do here. We need to do this one because we don't want to get snared at all. But the damage is honestly not that bad. The all defense down really helps. The buffs on 3 really help. And the number of hits and the amount of damage he has, of course he's getting help from both Coulson and Nick Fury here, but he still puts it down. And I definitely think we could do this with strikers. Perhaps the damage will be too low once we get down past 11 bars, because the all defense down won't work anymore. So I may be a bit more optimistic than I should be, but it's honestly not that bad right now. A minute 30 is a little on the slow side, but we're basically there. A minute 30 is actually not that bad for a stage 30 with no damage proc and no strikers. Not that many characters can do it, and also, you know, maintain most of their health, being able to dodge or become immune to all of the damage. Some people think that Silver Surfer is not really worth it, and that he was overhyped and that he's kind of underperforming. He's disappointing. I think he is really good, and I think as well, like, look at that. A bar of damage without a proc. I think he still has untapped potential, which is always exciting, because characters who can get better and characters who have this much value in the Marvel Universe and this much of a history in the Marvel Universe are bound to get that potential realized sooner or later. It's the characters that never have a possibility of having it realized that I feel bad for, because they're basically probably never going to get better unless by some fluke chance. I'm gonna proc that. That's not bad. So there we go. That was what? 2. Okay, so almost half the time is actually kind of bad, because we're probably going to do less than half the damage we were doing now that the all defense down doesn't work. We were doing close to a bar when we combined 3 and 4, or sorry, 4 and 5. I just died there to the meteors. But let's see how much damage we can pull off now with the 5-4 combo. Without the all defense down, yeah. Okay, so it really starts to hurt here without the damage proc and without the help. But let's just try including 3 here. So we do get a bit of a damage proc from 3. We get 100% increased damage. That's pretty bad. That was like, what, a 1/4 of a bar there. Let's try this again. Hit it off, and then 5, and then 4, and we're just like squeaking by. Okay, that's pretty bad. So no, I don't think he could do this with strikers at stage 30. Maybe stage 25. Maybe there's a possibility you could get it done at stage 30 if you could really squeak it by with like a minute, with like a second left, but I'm not exactly sure. So let me know what you guys think of the Silver Surfer. Hopefully that enlightens you not only to what potential CTPs you can put on him in terms of what you want him to do. I would say, you know, pure PvE energy, pure PvP, probably regen or destruction, and then hybrid, obviously destruction. But then I also think that obelisks can work for him as well, because he doesn't necessarily need those super specific stats. I mean, or effects, I guess. He needs the penetration for destruction for PvP, but you could get by with a poor man's CTP of regen with guard break, max HP, and invincibility. You would just suffer a bit more against those high penetration characters, and you would always die against Jean Grey's 5th, which, what's new? Everyone dies to that. So yeah, let me know what you guys think of Silver Surfer. Subscribe if you enjoy the content, you want to support me, and of course, if you like what you see, I hope to see you again tomorrow. Take care.